Hello and welcome to 2 Minute Watches. Today we got a ORIS Super, a vintage watch from 1960s. So I'm very excited to kind of show this to you guys. I've been getting into vintage watches a bit more lately. I don't know if it's with age, but also I think once you see enough of those sporty divers, sometimes you want something a bit smaller on the wrist, something a bit more, maybe with a bit more history to it. So, and also, often you find they're really, really small. I've seen some vintage watches which are, I guess, unisex, perhaps even aimed at men, down to 31, 32 millimeter case size. And although I do have smaller wrists at 6.25 inches, it's still quite a reduction in size to sometimes adjust to. So something like this, which is at about 35 millimeters in its case size, does feel a bit more modern. A bunch of 36 millimeters that are, I guess, branded at unisex, but often men do like wearing them now, like the Tudor Black Bay 36. So if you can find a larger case size vintage watch, then I think often why bother getting, for example, the modern Longines Conquest 34 millimeters, RRP around a grand, £1,000. You can pick up really nice vintage watches dripping with character around the 34 millimeter mark. I'd say usually this is probably unusual, getting something a bit bigger. I'm not actually sure what the ORIS Super refers to, but maybe the super size. But I do like it. Often the vintage watches can be quite sterile. They all usually have a very nice silvery sunburst style like this. You can see that this is nearly 60 years old, and the dial is still absolutely stunning. The text, nice, rich. It doesn't seem to flake in any way. You've got the 36912 Arabic numeral markers, which gives it a bit more of a sporty aesthetic. So I guess often I would think about wearing a vintage kind of dress watch, maybe at work or a wedding or something like that. But with those Arabic markers, it probably does allow me to wear it with a t-shirt on a summer's day. The markers also have, and I've noticed this a lot with the vintage watches, where it's kind of black on the edges alongside the silver, and it does make it a bit more 3D, stands out a bit more, contrast with the silvery dial, which again just gives it more presence, more character, more visibility, which is often, I think, missing from, again, one of those more sterile vintage watches that you get, where it's just maybe a small bit of black text, the silvery sunburst dial, and then maybe a few markers that are also silver, which make it a bit difficult to see. You've got the solid case back there. No chance of a display case back from the 60s, which with some sort of hallmarking showing the shock resistance, the ORIS watch company, stainless steel back, the hallmark, and the 10 microns of gold plate on the bezel. I think it was much more popular to wear a gold-plated. I'm trying to work out what the kind of appeal was in terms of having it gold. I'm sure it was seen as glamorous to have the gold outside. Now potentially seen as a bit tacky sometimes, but with a brown strap and a long sleeve shirt, I think it'll still be gold. Just putting the wrist shot in now. So 35 millimeter case size on a relatively small 6.25 inch wrist. See, I guess I have quite a rounded wrist, so it looks like it's hanging off, but actually when you look at it from above, very nice. Oh, it's actually kind of perfect in a way. Vintage. I'll say vintage. I was about to say vintage inspired, but it actually is just vintage. You've got a watch here that I think these came out in the mid 60s, so given it's 2025, you're talking a 60-year-old watch. Absolutely stunning. Really works. Wouldn't look out of place. Wouldn't look too small at all. The lugs also kind of just give it a bit more presence. Definitely, I think for those just thinking about it, these under £200, you can get one of these. Various different brands available. If you're thinking about starting your vintage watch journey, if you're a bit hesitant, maybe try and get a larger face one, which makes it feel less dainty, maybe. But I definitely would recommend having a look for one, and you'll have a lot of fun trying to find one that works for you. And they're relatively cheap, given how expensive the RRP of new watches are. So I do think that would accentuate your kind of collection and your wallet a bit. Thanks for watching, and please do like and subscribe.